Objectives of the code meaning the code of good practice on the prevention and elimination of violence and harassment in the workplace in South Africa. So the code aims to provide guidance and standards for employers, employees, and other stakeholders. So when I say other stakeholders, meaning other people or entities that have dealings with the business, like your suppliers, your customers, trade union officials, if you're dealing with trade union, agents from the bargaining council, if you are subscribed to the bargaining council, or if you're a member of the bargaining council. So it provides guidance and standards for all these stakeholders in preventing and addressing violence, discrimination, and harassment in the workplace. So some of the objectives are eliminating all forms of harassment, violence, and discrimination in the workplace, provide guidelines for employers and employees and other stakeholders, and then identify steps that employers and employees should take in order to eliminate harassment, violence, and discrimination in the workplace. So how can all forms of harassment be eliminated in the workplace? They can be eliminated through developing and implementing the relevant policies and procedures. So I have made the policies and procedures available as part of this training. If you are accessing it from my online platform where I have the training manual as well, you'll be able to download the policies as well. And then if you are accessing this from YouTube, you can click on the link to be able to get your hands on the policy and the procedures, as well as the full training. And then other ways that harassment, discrimination, and violence can be eliminated in the workplace is through training and awareness programs such as this. So this kind of training, awareness training, would be ideal as part of your onboarding training or induction training. And then promoting a culture of respect, establishing reporting mechanisms for the victims, and then take appropriate corrective action in response to incidents of harassment, violence, and discrimination, and then provide access and support services to victims of harassment, violence, and discrimination, and then regularly monitor the effectiveness of your harassment prevention programs. So guidelines, so these are the guidelines. So these are the further guidelines for employers and employees to take on eliminating discrimination, unfair discrimination. So again, to emphasize the importance of policy development, training and education such as this, and reporting mechanisms, investigations, and support for the victims. So the code stresses the importance of providing support and assistance to employees, customers, suppliers who have experienced violence, harassment, or discrimination in the workplace, and then creating an overall positive workplace. So employers or businesses should ensure that they create a positive workplace that is committed to respecting everyone who has dealings with the business and the organization. And leadership should be committed in creating a discrimination, harassment-free workplace, okay? Okay, so this is our second activity for the training. So if you are accessing this or watching this from YouTube, you can put your answers in the comment section. It will help my engagement. And if you're accessing it from the online platform, you must have also accessed the manual. So the manual is fully downloadable. You can print it and then you can fill in your answers there. So it's actually a case study. So here goes the case study. During a team meeting, a senior manager consistently interrupts and talks over a junior female colleague. Whenever she tries to contribute to the discussion, he dismisses her ideas and suggestions, often making derogatory remarks about her intelligence and competence in front of other team members. Despite her attempts to assert herself and participate in the meeting, the senior manager continues to belittle and undermine her, causing her to feel marginalized and disrespected in the workplace. So as part of our activity, please analyze the scenario considering the objectives outlined in the Code of Good Practice. So remember, the objectives are to eliminate harassment, violence, and discrimination in the workplace, and to provide guidelines to employers and employees on eliminating violence and discrimination and harassment in the workplace, And then it's also to identify steps that employers should take to eliminate harassment in the workplace, okay? And then discuss how this scenario aligns or violates these objectives. So how does this violate the objective of eliminating harassment, violence, and discrimination in the workplace? And then identify specific actions that employers could take to address this particular situation. And then do you consider this as violence and harassment? Okay. So while you can pause and then jot down your notes before you proceed to listen to my answers or my views. Okay. Then also if you are accessing this on my online training platform, you can also pause, jot down your answers on your manual, and then press play again. Okay. So my answer in analyzing the scenario, considering the objectives outlined in the code as I've just mentioned them. So how does this scenario violate these objectives? So for me, it looks like there is harassment, and maybe somebody can argue that this manager is maybe being talked in such a manner because she's female, even though the case does not specifically say so. So that would fall under discrimination for me. So it violates the objective of eliminating discrimination. And then the steps and then the actions. Okay, and then as specific actions that employers could take to address the situation. So it's by developing the proper policies and procedures that will also outline the steps that the employee, the female colleague, needs to take in order to address the situation. And then training and awareness programs. Maybe the senior manager who consistently interrupts is not aware that this behavior is unacceptable. So if they had accessed this kind of training, they would have come across this scenario. And then promote a culture of respect. So it looks like in this organization, the culture of respect is not really promoted, as this person is, the senior manager is belittling the junior female colleague. And then also provide support for the victims. So this is the actions that the employer can take. And then what do you consider this as violence and harassment? I would say it is discrimination and harassment. So how can this be addressed? I would say that leadership needs to show commitment. And then also the issue of accountability needs to be taken into account, that all managers need to be accountable for the department that they are overseeing, and ensure that there's no violence, discrimination, or harassment in their departments, that everyone is spoken to in a manner that reflects respect. And then there should also be reporting mechanisms in place so that this female colleague knows exactly where to go to report what, and that support and confidentiality will be maintained for her. So please do drop your answers, your comments in the comment section. And if you are accessing this online, just to reiterate, please complete your manuals.